Call to order the New Kent County Board of Supervisors, September 29th, 2025 meeting to order. Ms. Watkins, will you call the roll?
Mr. Evelyn?
Here.
Mr. Moyer?
Here.
Ms. Pearson?
Here.
Mr. Steers?
Here.
And Ms. Stewart?
Here.
Good morning, everyone. Have a short agenda this morning, so we'll get started. Item 1, proposed option and lease agreement with Towers LLC. Mr. Hathaway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. This item was presented at the September 8th regular meeting. It involves a proposed option and lease agreement for 10,000 square feet of land owned by the county located at 12,400 Old Telegraph Road, which is also the site of the Old Telegraph Refuge site. The purpose of the proposed option is to allow the Towers LLC group to perform necessary due diligence for the construction of a cell tower on the property. The due diligence includes applying for a conditional use permit, which is a requirement of our county code. If they are successful in their due diligence process, then we will proceed with the lease agreement. Early this month, the Towers LLC presented a document that proposed an annual lease payment of $6,500. They're now proposing an annual payment of $12,000 that will increase by 3% annually, and starting with the second tenant on the tower, the rent will increase by $75 per month per tenant. Staff is in favor of the proposed option and lease agreement because it will address a cellular service coverage issue in the Lenexa area, especially in the populated areas of the campgrounds and the colonies neighborhood. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hathaway. We had the public hearing last month. Any questions for Mr. Hathaway? None. Leonard. Oh, Mr. Steers.
Yep, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Hathaway, the county leases a tower down in the Quentin area, right?
We do. Behind the Valero service station, we lease space on that tower.
And how much do we pay a month?
Actually, it's a weird agreement. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know if we pay anything, but we pay the property owner a lease to cross the property to get access to the tower.
Right.
And that's about $16,000 a year, something like that. Yeah, this is the only situation where we do something like that,
right.
But that was worked out years ago.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I do have one question. Mr. Hathaway, what is the capacity on that tower? Like how many other providers could go on there?
Well, that's going to be part of their due diligence because they'll have to do a coverage analysis, which will essentially determine how high the tower will go and how much space they'll have. They need to make sure they can reach the areas that they're trying to get to. So I don't know those details right now, but as they proceed to the conditional use permit process, we'll know the type of tower, we'll know the height of the tower as well.
And is there a need for us to have a space on the tower?
It is a requirement that they have to offer space to the county.
Okay, Thank you.
At no charge, yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any other? None. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to authorize the county administrator to execute the proposed option and lease agreement with the Towers LLC for 10,000 square feet of county-owned property located at 12400 Old Telegraph Road to be used for the construction of a communications tower.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. Ms. Watkins, will you poll the members, please?
Mr. Moyer?
Aye.
Ms. Pearson?
Aye.
Mr. Steers? Aye. Ms. Stewart?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Motion passes. Next item, request for supplemental appropriation of sludge disposal. Mr. Lang, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the board. About 6 weeks ago, we received email notification and actually an in-person meeting with the Henrico wastewater treatment plant staff regarding the sludge that we take to them as part of our jail agreement. We are under permit for the hauled sludge to Henrico. And they were requesting filtration of the sludge due to fine and fibrous material that was disrupting their treatment process. We traced this back to the jail, Henrico jail, quite easily, and everyone agrees it's coming from the jail. You have a nice picture of the bar screen that serves the jail there in your agenda packet. So that material is being collected on the bar screen, but it's not being picked up in the trash dumpster at that facility. It goes on to the treatment plant and it goes out with our sludge. Henrico is requesting filtration. That has been an unmanageable situation for us because that's not part of our process. So we propose an alternative to haul it all to HRSD, which they have verbally accepted. However, the cost is about double what we pay to dispose of at Henrico. So I had a conference call with Mr. Chan, the Henrico Director of Utilities. He agreed to cover those costs. We have not solidified that in a written agreement as of yet. So that is something we need to iron out. But we are asking for additional funds because the additional disposal cost is far outside of our budgeted amount for sludge disposal. And the additional request is $225,000.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Pearson?
I assume there will be a revenue side to that as well. What guarantee do we have that they are going to cover that cost?
We would request that the county attorneys get together and put that in a written agreement.
But we don't have a guarantee right now
we don't
that
have
they're going
the
to cover
agreement
that.
yet. And I will add, since the agenda was prepared 2 weeks ago, we don't have a compliance letter or notice of violation from Henrico either. So currently, we're doing the status quo of sending them 5 loads a week and the remainder to HRSD. So,
Will we have a revenue side to that also, that entry, the appropriation entry?
yeah, it would be part of the Henrico revenue or cost sharing agreement. But this portion needs to be 100% covered by Henrico. Henrico Jail is the source. Henrico Utilities is complaining. I don't see why New Kent, the ratepayers of New Kent should have pay anything into
We
that.
don't even have inmates there now. So.
Correct.
And when did this start? It just started out of the blue, or
Oh
it's
no,
been ongoing?
this is the
or-
same. The consistency of the sludge hasn't changed.
It hasn't. Okay, because I was going to ask. We
Well-
now have. There should be less inmates there, I would think.
I think they keep it pretty full.
Oh, really? Even though ours aren't there.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're accepting more state and federal prisoners now. So.
Oh yeah, they have to make up the difference in cost.
Yeah, that was my first question as well. We're doing this sludge handling project. We're spending $14 million on it. What's new about the sludge? And everyone has assured me this has been going on as long as the jail's been in operation. And the material is basically cheap toilet paper and perhaps paper towels that shouldn't be going down the drain anyway. So
Could they change that to?
we asked that question,
Yeah,
and the jail referred
saw.
us back to Henrico Utilities.
Okay.
They said, deal with utilities.
Mr. Hefty, do you believe that we will be able to get the revenue from Henrico? I mean, you said the lawyers are going to talk about it. Do you think that that's going to happen?
I believe I can work on an agreement.
Thank you.
Typical lawyer answer.
I would say,
I'd
based
also
on our
like to-
conversations, yes, we can work out an agreement.
That's good to
But
hear.
I would not
Thank you.
incur the additional costs until we have that agreement worked
Okay.
out.
Thank you.
And I've arranged with Mr. Lawrence to make that a separate line from the other Henrico cost shares.
And I'd also like to state that our current agreement with Henrico gives them some obligation of handling our sludge and treating our sludge. So through that current agreement, we do have some leverage.
Ms. Stewart? You got-
Yes, thank you. I think the week only gets better when you start Monday with Sludge. So
Yeah.
we're looking forward to that. It makes me really uncomfortable. So Ms. Pearson, thank you for bringing up the questions you had. It makes me really uncomfortable to talk about a large sum of money with no agreement that we're going to get it back. So I hear that we have the ability, or we believe we have the ability to sign an agreement. But do we have to do this right now if we don't have that agreement? Is it if we don't do it, because you're not sending the sludge anywhere else right now, are you?
Correct, we are not.
And when would you begin doing that if we appropriated the money today?
Once the agreement is in place.
Okay, so this is just it's there when you need it. Kind of.
Correct. And it'll be a separate line. If we don't use it, it goes back
Okay.
into the utility fund.
Okay, thank you.
Any other?
Yeah, you had any ability to negotiate with HRSD about their pricing?
We can try, but it's actually pricing through the hauling vendor.
Oh, okay.
So, and it hasn't changed in the past 3 contract periods on the disposal costs. So, probably not much. We will give it a shot.
In hearing from them, they want to do more with us in the future. So I didn't know if that would be a leverage on that.
I have indirectly heard that myself, but I have not spoken with anyone
Okay.
at HRSD. So,
Well, we'll see what we can do.
yeah.
Thank you.
I will just add that technically the jail would be, if the jail's waste interferes with our ability to dispose of the sludge, they are in violation of our sewer user ordinance. So whatever compliance letter comes from Henrico to us just needs to be stapled to our own compliance letter and sent to the jail. So there's an easy way to do it, and there's a hard way to do it. Hopefully we can do it the easy way.
All right. Anyone else? Then I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to appropriate $225,000 from the Public Utilities General Fund for additional sludge handling contingent upon an agreement with Henrico to pay the $225,000.
Thank you, Ms. Pearson. Any discussion? Ms. Watkins, poll the members.
Ms. Pearson?
Aye.
Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Ms. Stewart?
Aye.
Mr. Moyer?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Lane. Next is Sheriff's Office Staffing Plan Presentation. Sheriff?
Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the board, good morning to you. Come before you this morning with several staffing requests. I know we've already had some conversation about the jail, and that is some of the issue that we're dealing with right now. Obviously, I think it was a tremendous choice choosing the current jail that we're with, obviously due to the cost of it. We did save, if we would have been at Henrico's advertised rate of where we would be, our current savings right now would be about $826,579 per year with us using Pamunkey versus Henrico and what they were advertising. In that, some of the issues that it has caused for us is instead of driving 6.5 miles east of the courthouse to Henrico Jail, we're now driving 35 miles to up near Hanover County Courthouse. During the last fiscal year, we actually made 320 trips after hours to Pamunkey Jail. Day-to-day operations, Monday through Friday, Pamunkey brings the inmates to court. They will pick them up and return them back. If we make an arrest during the day and they have space available, which normally they will transport our inmates back to Pamunkey, and we don't have to make that trip. But after hours, like I said, we've made 320 trips over the course of the year, and unfortunately with our current staffing, 3 people is our current minimum staffing, which obviously with the needs of the county, that is well below where we should be. What I am looking for is trying to get to a minimum of 5 deputies per shift to help cover the county. And what the request is as far as the jail, looking at some of the needs from the courthouse side. So the first recommendation that I would have would be looking to hire or approve 2 part-time positions for court and civil process. We currently have 11 in the court and civil process area, 11 full-time and 1 part-time. I have a member that just retired, so I've only got 10, and we have a vacancy. So currently we only have 9 deputies in the court area with 1 part-time staff. I will tell you, we have been in the process of hiring for that 1 vacant position, and we have been through multiple rounds of interviews, and we had a candidate that withdrew because of the salary, and we had another candidate that we did not proceed further with based on some things that came up in a background. So we're still looking to fill that position, but unfortunately the day-to-day needs of the courthouse are getting more and more involved. For instance, last Monday, we had 4 deputies out of the county doing transports from various jails. Some, they went to Emporia, back to Central State, they went to Virginia Beach, and it's a big shuffle game as far as making sure that all the posts in the court are manned. With certain courts, you have a minimum of 3 people. If that court is in session, you've got 3 deputies assigned to that 1 court. We're having days at this point in time with multiple courts in session. You might have 2 courts. You may have all 3 courts in session. And what used to happen, the Monday through Wednesday is really our heavy court days. Thursday and Fridays, the deputies would go out and serve their civil papers. And with the increase in volume and additional court days, we're having court at times all 5 days of the week. So we're looking to try to hire 2 additional staff part-time. And with the part-time staff, that cost would be about a little over $105,000, just short of $106,000. And the equipment side, we should be able to cover from within our current budget. And that would just help fill some of the day-to-day needs, take some of that burden off of the staff with the day-to-day operations of the court and all the current civil papers and process that we are dealing with. The second request would be looking to fund a 6-man traffic unit. We are, as many of you all are well aware with the phone calls that you all are receiving and the emails you all are receiving, that we have a few citizens complaining about traffic in the county. I think many of you are well aware of the 211, all the issues there, the interstate, all the issues with the crashes and everything we had at that location. That's what prompted us to start doing the photo speed enforcement. We went live with actual enforcement on August the 12th, and through Thursday of last week, we had captured over 48,210 violations. It's averaging between 11 and 13,000 violations a week. And obviously that is also a lot of manpower hours trying to go in and approve violations. If everything is very good, the deputy can approve about 200 an hour. If it's nighttime where you're trying to really go through and determine things, you might get 80 to 85 in an hour. So it just really depends on when the violation is occurring. We're still seeing speeds in excess of 100 miles an hour through the photo, and we're seeing speeds in excess of 100 miles an hour with the deputies and the troopers. I've got a deputy Commonwealth's attorney that says, he's got a stack of summons on his desk like that with speeds in excess of 100 that the court will put in jail. If they're convicted, they will go to jail. I know Ms. Pearson actually was posting on social media for a while of, during this Tuesday court date, there were X number of cases in court for speeds in excess of 100 and X number of other cases between 90 and 95. And we're seeing 20 to 30 cases a lot of times a week that are in that range, just the excessive speed. With funding the 6-man traffic unit, the cost would be about right around 1.3, a little over 1.3 million. What my recommendation would be is to use some of the revenue that will be generated from the photo speed enforcement to help cover those costs, and almost treat that like a grant fund where it would fund multiple years from those revenues, because the other side, we don't know how long we will be out there. We are only there until the state police are up and running with their photo speed enforcement. They were supposed to have been the ones originally when this work zone started to be handling all of the photo speed in that current work zone. From what we've been advised, probably November, around Thanksgiving, we will see the next 10 miles under construction as well. And, I hope we don't see an increase in crashes in that section that we've seen in this first section. One thing that has changed really that really puts a hurting on our staff, excuse me, is effective this past July 1st, we now handle single vehicle non-injury crashes in the county. So the sheriff's office is actually responsible for that, whereas since I've been with the sheriff's office since or even involved since 1984 with the volunteer fire department, the state police have always handled the crashes in the county. If they were tied up, then the sheriff's office would handle it. Now with their manpower shortages, we're actually starting to cover the single vehicle non-injury crashes that are occurring in the county, and I can only imagine that probably next July, the following January, we will be handling all crashes in the county. And what would normally happen, the state would respond to a crash, they would work the crash, and the deputies would provide traffic control around the crash. Well, what's happening now with us working the crash, depending on where it is and how many deputies may be needed, we had a crash a couple of weeks ago on a Friday morning on Olivet Church Road near the landfill. It was in the middle of two blind curves, so we had a deputy on each side of the crash and a deputy working the crash. Or they're preparing to work the crash with the state police. So when we're working a 3-man minimum staffing, our entire shift would have been on that crash site. To give you some idea of some of the calls that we're dealing with, yesterday morning, they had 3 deputies working. We had a domestic call, we had a lost property call, we had a stabbing, we had a subject that it came in, reference a shooting from VCU Emergency Center, and it ended up being shrapnel. They were shooting at steel targets, and some of the shrapnel actually hit the subject. And the other was a psych call, a 10-year-old threatening suicide with a knife. So those types of calls you don't respond to with one deputy. If we're dealing with these issues, like I said, with 3 men minimum, your staff is all tied up on a crash. There's nobody to send. With the shortages of the state police, you know, it's not like it used to be where you could count on 2 or 3 of them to go if you were tied up and they could handle the call. There just aren't 2 or 3 of them typically to be there. Week before last, even on the interstate, they had 2 crashes within the week. The trooper was tied up with an arrest. We actually ended up handling the crash, working the crash on the interstate. So it's starting to be a major burden on our resources. As of this morning, we were just over 37,200 calls. And last year, we finished the year with just under 47,000 calls. So anything that could be done to assist us with this issue, we would greatly appreciate. And certainly if you have any questions.
Any questions? Ms. Stewart.
Mr. Chair, I think maybe a question for you or for us is, we believe that we can, once we no longer are receiving the photo enforcement funds, that by the time that happens, we can cover the cost of it, right? Or have we talked about that at all, Mr. Hathaway? Because that's maybe my concern is looking at, and well, back up. Firstly, thank you, Sheriff. I know we talked about this last week, and I think you all do a tremendous job. And I think I even told you I never see, like, the low manpower, you never see you guys sweat. And I think that's just a really testament to you and your team and the good job that you all do. But I know that can't last for forever. So thank you for being forward thinking. And now for our responsibility in this, I want to make sure as we build a new courthouse and we have people to fill it, how this plays into when the photo enforcement money runs out.
Sure. The way I see this is that we would treat it similar to how we've treated the SAFER grants in the past. While we've had guaranteed funding for 3 years, and then after that, we would take on that responsibility. But within that 3-year period, we've been setting aside additional revenues coming in annually to cover that. And I see us doing something similar. Hopefully, we might be able to, if the revenues keep coming in like they are, we should be good for 5 years or maybe longer. I do believe that there is equipment being prepared that will now monitor traffic heading westbound. So I don't know if that's going to double what's existing coming in, but I see a significant increase of revenues to what we're already receiving. I would like to, if we move forward, I would work with the sheriff and Tripp, Mr. Lawrence, and we would set aside a plan to set aside a good portion of those revenues for that day when we have to take on all of that cost.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So I guess the state police can come in there. They could come in tomorrow, I guess, and take it over. I guess that's my biggest concern. Could an option be we hire some temps or part-time people just to do the enforcement? I mean, to put the tickets out?
The problem, well, as far as our staffing, as far as processing the violations, it's not costing any time because it's all being done on an overtime basis, and it is actually being billed to the actual vendor that we are using. So out of the portion of the revenue that goes back to them, we're actually billing them for our hours, and they are paying it out of their revenue.
But that's your people having to work overtime?
It is. So, I mean,
I'm just saying
the difference is it doesn't require them to come out. They can actually mark on duty. They can check whatever they check. They call dispatch and mark off, or mark off by MDT and advise dispatch how many they checked. We are in the process, as the code allows, to bring 3 retirees back that would be basically fully funded from, this would be their only assignment. They would not be sworn. They would just be approving violations. And if need be, if one of their violations got contested, they would need to appear in court, which at that point with the court side, we would have to fund a little bit, but that should not be that drastic at all because we're seeing very few that are contested.
I'm just kind of worried if that 1.3 million, all of a sudden it pulls out in a couple of weeks, where we're going to find that money. That's my concern.
Mr. Chair, so I heard you say 48,210 violations. If the likelihood of everybody paying those is probably low, but that's $4.8 million, correct? So how long do we have to spend that money on traffic control? Can we put that into an earmarked fund and then keep carrying that forward for this traffic unit? If we're going to get 4.8 million, well, 4 maybe, and then it's only going to build until the state police takes it over. It sounds like that would be funded for several years going forward if we earmark those funds.
Correct. And that number did not include last Friday's numbers. So we're probably right around the 50,000. Now, I will say that, that is the total number of citations that it captured. What happens when we go through to review it, you may have 2 vehicles in the image, and we would not approve that. We would purge that one, or if you have a state that you can't read, the license plate is not legible. And even some Virginia tags, especially at night, you may have some that are not legible. So we would purge those as well.
And I assume the 1.3 million is all the equipment that's needed for 6 deputies, so it's not going to be 1.3 annually.
No, the total cost would be the initial upfront for year 1. That's all of their actual equipment, vehicles included. It should be about 528,000 year 2,
annually.
Year 3, year 4. But obviously, there would be some adjustment for increases with salary and all of that, but they would be minimal.
Can we do that? Can we spend it in future years instead of spending it all in our current year?
I believe right now we can. And I say right now because last year there were several legislations introduced in the General Assembly that put tighter controls on the camera enforcement dollars. And there could be in the upcoming session, so that could change. But yes, we could carry it forward. Currently, we can do that.
Do you think that they would take what we already collected?
I
wouldn't
doubt
think
that.
so.
And
The longer that we collect it, the more we have to use for that traffic unit going forward.
Correct. The only thing I think that could change between now and July 1st would be as if the state police get up and operational. And even at that, we've heard they were going to be operational in May. We've heard they were going to be operational in July. The last we had heard was that the paperwork was on the Attorney General's desk, and they were going through some stuff with the vendor, Vita, and the Attorney General's office. We don't know how long it will be there because it was also there a month prior. Supposedly it was on the Attorney General's desk. It's also an election year, so I don't know if this is something the Attorney General is going to address before the election. I just don't know. But, it could certainly change. I know we've certainly had some conversations with the state police that, getting the equipment there to monitor, that's the easy side. The hard side is having the resources on the back end to approve what's going to be coming through there. The secondary vehicle, I think somebody had mentioned, it is expected to be delivered on October the 6th or the 7th. I know from the pre-surveys that were done prior to us even starting with this program, in over the 38,000 violations that were issued in that Monday through Friday, over 24,000 of the violations were issued on the eastbound or observed on the eastbound side, and just under 14,000 were on the westbound side. So I don't think we will see as much activity on the westbound side as we have on the eastbound side, and it doesn't change for the speed, whether you're running 101 or 71, the fine is the same. I do think that we would see higher speeds on the westbound side, even though we would have less violations, because based on our normal activity, the westbound side seems to be where a lot more of those higher speeds are coming from.
And if we didn't spend it on this, what would we spend it on?
I think right now, like Mr. Hathaway had mentioned, last year in the General Assembly, one proposed bill was that the county could keep all of its operating costs. So if it cost you $200,000 to run the program, you could keep $200,000. Anything over and above the $200,000 would go back to the state.
So as long as we track that.
I think as far as we track that, that did not pass. And then they came out with it, kind of went into 4 pillars. One was speed management, which that's basically the area that I'm looking at with the traffic control or traffic unit, because that's the calls we're getting. I mean, there's not a neighborhood in the county that we're not getting speeding complaints in. Route 60, Route 33, I mean, everywhere you go, people are flying up and down the road. They're talking on the cell phones. So there was another category that was towards roadway improvements. That was stuff that was through the Transportation Safety Board. I think if they had recommendations, you could use funding for that. So some roadway safety improvements as well. They were in categories for that, but it was basically going back towards highway safety. It wasn't, you can go fund a brand new fleet of Teslas for the vehicle or for the county. It was really geared towards being put back into highway safety. The revenues that we've generated or that have been generated from the school photo enforcement, we have put equipment on the flashing lights that the school can actually monitor. So if they had an emergency right now, they could, instead of the lights coming on at 2 o'clock this afternoon when they're supposed to, they can log into a computer and they can activate the lights right now. If school closed tomorrow morning, they could deactivate the lights so they didn't come on in the morning. Now, that is also separate from the photo side. So just because one's doing something, we don't do any photo enforcement unless the school is in session, the lights were flashing. What we have seen with the photo enforcement in the school zones was over a 95% reduction of speeding in the school zones. They're doing exactly what they're designed to do. I don't think we'll see anywhere near that on the interstate because you have a lot of transient traffic. There are some local commuters. I mean, we see a lot from Chesterfield, Glen Allen, that are going back and forth to Williamsburg or Williamsburg as well. So, but I don't think we will see that big of a reduction. Our crashes have dropped a little bit. I'm waiting through the end of September to have them rerun again, and we will see exactly where the numbers compare to the same time last year with the total number of crashes and then our multi-vehicle crashes.
Mr. Chairman, having this be a work session, I'd like to see something get done instead of just pushing it to next time. I'd love to see us approve the 106 for the 2 part-time. And the one thing we don't know yet is what the amount of payment will be. Right. Will we get 80% of those tickets being paid, 50% getting paid? You're getting FOIAs. I understand the vendors getting them. I understand some have taken a situation where I'm not paying. I don't live in the state. Right. What are they going to put a lien on my house? So we don't know the exact amount. So for that 6 people, I'd love to see what kind of payment schedule we're getting. Right. We get $4 million. Well, great. Let's put it on. Put that money aside then to pay other years in that. But if we're getting $1 million, then we're not getting $1 million. And my thought of the state police is if they don't have enough manpower to take care of what they're supposed to do, how are they going to have manpower to do this too? So I think we're a little safer than maybe we think, but still I think we have to be cautious in in getting those 6 new hirees before we know how much we're gonna get paid. But we gotta take care of the courthouse right now, that's for
Well,
sure.
and with some of that, I know Mr. Evelyn had mentioned part-time as well. The problem is there's just not a lot of part-time that they can work Monday through Friday, but a lot of times that's not the hours that we really need them to work.
Sure.
And it just takes so long to train. We're currently authorized 26 staff for our full-time patrol. And, with those 26, we've got 3 in the academy. I've got 2 vacancies. So, I've got 21 people to cover 4 shifts. And, we've got a new appointee coming on probably within the next couple of weeks. He'll start the academy in January. He probably will not be on the road answering calls till probably October of next year. So you're almost a year. And that's the problem we're running into. Our positions are filled, but there's nobody there answering calls. So, the position's covered. When you look at us, I'm authorized 54 full-time sworn staff. When you compare us to Goochland's authorized 67 full-time staff, and that they don't cover animal control. My 54 covers animal control. We handle about 10,000 calls a year more than Goochland handles. Powhatan has 50 full-time sworn people. They handle about 26,000 calls a year. We're handling just under 50,000. This year, I would say we will be over 50,000. And they also have 14 part-time staff.
But I was talking about the part-time to help process those speeding tickets.
Those
That's great.
And those at this point, that hasn't been an issue because the guys have been working it. They've been taking care of it. So,
But that's not putting extra where they could be doing something else.
Would they be doing something? Like
Could
I
they
said,
be doing
they can
something?
do this at home. So, a lot of them, they'll just mark on at home and do it. They'll do it in the mornings. It's just basically filler. It's no set of you have this set time that you've got to come out and do it.
Mm-hmm.
If there's some there, you just log on and you can process them.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. You said that so far there's been 48,210 citations issued. Instead of us guessing how much, do you have a figure of how much your department is taking in?
At this point, because we're so new in the actual revenue side of it, because the actual enforcement didn't start till the 12th of August.
Right.
So we only had about 18 days. By the time we got it processed, they get it in the mail. The people probably didn't get it in the mail until the first part of September.
Right.
So, for what we saw this past month, there was a deficit because they processed all the violations, but people hadn't paid yet. So normally the payment is a month or 2 behind, is when we will start seeing those come through. And, with that, like I said, the 48,000 did not include last Friday,
Right.
which we did. There were about 1,500, I think, is the number they just sent in for last Friday. So we're going to be right around the 50,000. Like I said, not all 50,000 of those will be processed because some, you can't read the tag. You might have multiple vehicles. So,
So my question though is, could you or Mr. Tripp give us what a figure is, what has been taken in to this point?
From the work zone side, we haven't received anything. Now,
Nothing.
the school zone side, there's probably somewhere upward of $100,000 that has actually been
Right.
incurred or that has
Okay.
been brought in.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yes,
And
sir.
I want you to know, I reiterate what's already been said, but we appreciate you. We appreciate your deputies and you guys keeping us safe. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Go.
Thank you. So I just had one administrative thing. If we are going to take in, anywhere near the amount that we're looking at with these, I would recommend appropriating above what we think we're going to get, just because if we take in, say we get it for the next 3 months and we're getting 1.6 a month, we should probably do the full, 4 and change rather than just doing 1.6 because we're going to have a public hearing every time we appropriate greater than 1% of the budget, and that would be essentially every month. So that would get expensive and kind of time consuming rather than because we wouldn't be able to do it like the normal supplemental appropriations that we do on your consent agenda just because of that amount. So whatever we decide to do first time is definitely going to be public hearing, so we wouldn't be able to take that until November at the earliest. And then I would recommend that we do one larger blanket. We should have a check-in by then, I would think, or at least an idea of who's paying and then kind of the percentages, so we could better get an idea of how it's all going to go.
Yeah, that was going to be my comment. Then we would have some history behind it, and we would know what was needed. Do you foresee that going into a totally separate fund or just a separate line item?
So we've been working a little bit with trying to figure out how to do it. I would assume that we probably put it in the grant fund or maybe its own special fund rather than the general fund, just so that fund balance can stay restricted when it's not used. And there'll be an easier way to track it should things change on how the state wants reporting.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. And let me understand too that no matter what the funds amount of the funds, it can only be used by your department, right? It cannot be used to be building a new elementary school, right? Right.
The way it is currently set out right now, from my understanding, that it is earmarked towards either speed management or one of the highway safety improvement projects.
Okay. All right.
Could you get us the information of how it could be earmarked?
Sure. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything for the sheriff? Thank you, Sheriff. Y'all have a good day. Good Monday. Our next item is the P25 radio system upgrade from SR 10A.2 to SR11 and the terminal radio upgrades. Mr. Hathaway and the communications team.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Again, you have before you a proposed agreement between New King County and L3 Harris for the P25 radio system upgrade from SR10A2 to SR11 and terminal radio upgrades. As you may recall, we signed the agreement to construct our current radio system in May of 2015, and we went live, I believe, in the fall of 2016. So we have a radio system that's about 10 years old now. And, radio systems, it's not just equipment, it's not just radio. That's only a portion of the system, and it is supported primarily by software. And we have software that's 10 years old. And in this day and time, there's a lot of changes to software over that time period. So it is time to upgrade our system, primarily the software, but there will be some new equipment purchases needed to work with the new software. With the new system, it will increase our cybersecurity. It will increase the system stability and performance, and it's getting difficult to find support for our existing equipment because it's dated. This is something that we've anticipated. It's a big cost. It's $2,147,122.18. But this is something we've been setting aside money for. We currently have a balance of about $1.5 million to fund this project. Therefore, if we move forward, there will be an additional amount needed in the amount of $647,122.18. I do have a new motion that I will pass out too. It really just adds language for a transfer to cover that balance that's needed. I'd also like to add that we're nearing completion of the animal shelter, where it's been a really good project. We have a significant amount of contingency left, probably $500,000. 450 to $500,000 it would be available in the animal shelter project. We also have some money that we've collected from Shaw City, who is on our system too, and there's about $120,000 that's available there. So we do have the money to cover that. Now, the motion here just proposes that a transfer takes place from capital fund balance. We believe accounting-wise it's easier to do that because essentially that money that's left over from the animal shelter will just flow back into capital fund balance. So we definitely have the fund balance to cover this. This is a project that is needed and is only going to get more expensive as we wait. So.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Hathaway? Ms. Pearson?
Mr. Chair, sorry. So you answered one of my questions because on page 7, the price increased due to Charles City, I guess, by about $24,000. So they are covering a portion of this then.
I will say, and I believe our staff can address that, but the proposal that we've received from L3 Harris does include options for Charles City to upgrade some of their equipment and software as well.
Yeah, it was in red and the previous verbiage was crossed out and it mentioned Charles City in the verbiage, so that's what I assumed. And I assume it's a sole source because we already have the system and we don't want to go out and spend $20 to $40 million more on a new system. And we believe that this will last us another 10 years, do we think?
Yeah, good morning. This should, I mean, we're 10 years into the radio system. The issue that we're running into is a lot of the server age is running off of like 2012 servers. Sure. So this will bring it up to the most current, and then obviously like Microsoft releases and Cisco release security updates periodically, which we subscribe to. So it'll just extend the life probably another 7 to 10 years that those updates will be applicable. And
do we think that we can then upgrade that system, or do we have to go and do another $20 to $40 million project?
Nah, I mean, unless P25 infrastructure changes drastically, like they come out with something better than P25, I don't foresee us having to completely overhaul our radio system in the near future. I think it'll be something, it's always, in my mind, it's always going to be something that's scalable and upgradable. And this is really not upgrading any of the tower infrastructure. It's all of the servers and routers that are in the shelters that are running the system.
When do we think we'll have to upgrade the tower infrastructure?
Again, unless they drastically change P25 technology and there's something better that comes out, I don't foresee us needing to address that for some time.
Okay, and lastly, what is the timeline for the project?
So their timeline was about a year. This project, if we had the original timeline that they gave was contract signing in September, and it was a cutover and final acceptance of October of 26. If this is approved, I am going to be pushing them to try to expedite that process because we had an issue on Friday where Cisco, I don't know if you saw it, but there was a Cisco vulnerability to the ASAs and Cisco Firepower firewalls. It was affecting a lot of 911 centers in the South. So currently our firewall is, I don't want to say it's disabled, but it's powered off so that there is no vulnerability to the outside world. And it's looking like there may not be a fix to that other than the upgrade. So I'm going to be using that to kind of leverage them expediting the process.
Anyone else? Mr. Steers?
Mr. Hathaway, what was the total amount that we paid Harris for the radio system? Was it around seven?
I think it was about just under 7, actually.
$7 million.
Yeah.
And just so the new board members be aware of it, 10 years ago when the sheriff who was Wakey Howard brought that to the board, and the board voted it down. And when I talked to Mr. Howard, Wakey Howard, the next day, I mean, he was really upset. And he'd come and sat and talk just like you're talking right now. And I told Wakey, I said, you need to come with audio and show the board your transmission and how it scrambled. There was a standoff out in, I think, the colonies, and they had deputies in the backyard and in the front yard. They had to take out their own personal cell phones to communicate with each other. They couldn't communicate on the radio. So he did that, and the board unanimously voted to pass it, and that's been 10 years ago. So, and I think it was our Fire Chief Opet turned us on to Harris because we had been discussing with another company that wanted double. And they kept saying, and if you don't sign the contract today, it goes up tomorrow. And, I don't like dealing with used car salespeople, but to me, that's what they acted like. So anyway, I think we made a great decision. And, like Mr. Hathaway said, you have to upgrade it, so I'm certainly in favor of it.
Is the system functioning well still? I mean, is it still?
It is functioning today. That we are having. I've heard of at least 3 counties that have been on similar software revisions as us, and their virtual application server is starting to fail. And once it fails, there's really no recovering it.
But you have good response. I mean, Harris is still.
Yeah, they're
good to
still
work
doing
with.
everything that they can to support our system. But like I said, just because of the age, a lot of those security updates and bug fixes don't apply to our system because of its age.
Do you have Charles City's money in our account?
They issued an IOU.
Any other questions? If none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to authorize the county administrator to execute the proposed agreement between L3 Harris and New Kent County in a form approved by the county attorneys to upgrade the county's P25 radio system from SR 10A.2 to SR 11, totaling $2,147,122.18. I further move to transfer a total of $647,122.18 from the capital fund balance to the budget line item number 31380000-438020 to fund the proposed project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Steers. Any other discussion? Ms. Watkins, poll the members, please.
Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Ms. Stewart?
Aye.
Mr. Moyer?
Aye.
Ms. Pearson?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Thank you. Does anybody have any other business?
Let's see, Mr. Chair, I just had a couple of announcements.
Okay.
So Mr. Reimer and I are having our community conversations meeting on October 15th at Station 3 in Eltham at 6 p.m. And then I had a chance last night or yesterday afternoon to visit with the New Kent 4-H team that was competing at the state fair in goats and chickens. And they actually won first place in multiple of their competitions. And it was their first time showing, so it was very, very exciting. It felt like the best place to be at yesterday. And then last week we had our first Plan RVA meeting of the new fiscal year. And as the chair, I encouraged the other members in the other localities to share what Plan RVA is doing that benefits our region, because I want the time we all spend there to be useful and not just another hour that we sit in the same room with each other. So we're trying to increase engagement from all of our localities on all of the public comment periods for the plans that they put together. So currently they're finishing their comprehensive economic development strategy, which Ms. Hurt sits on as part of the committee for that, and then the comprehensive climate action plan. They're taking public comment on those, I believe, beginning in the first 2 weeks of October, but I'm going to post the links to all of that so people, should they want to submit a comment, they can do that. And then periodically I'll just update as we go along to make sure that residents of New Kent are contributing should they want to. So, but with that, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moyer.
To report on one of those hour meetings I deal with too is the Central Virginia Transportation Authority. And there was a milestone hit for that Transportation Authority in it started 5 years ago. We've hit $1 billion in collections in sales tax and fuel tax that are going to regional projects. And to show you the value of that to New Kent, Out of that billion, we probably in New Kent have somewhere around 1.2 million, $120 million that has gone to projects in New Kent. Being just one of 9 jurisdictions, we've done well, and that's I got to give a lot of credit to Ms. Page because a lot of that money is for 64. So that is one area that, as I keep saying, whatever you're going to buy it in New Kent. If you're going to buy gas, please buy it in New Kent. It benefits us greatly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moyer. All right. Nothing else. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Supervisors will be held at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, October 14th, 2025. And the next work session will be held at 9 a.m. Tuesday, October 28th, 2025, both here in the boardroom. And if no other business, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Moyer. Ms. Watkins, poll members.
Ms. Stewart?
Aye.
Mr. Moyer?
Aye.
Ms. Pearson?
Aye.
Mr. Steers?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Meeting adjourned.